From Rule 62 Studios in Bossier City, Louisiana, this is the Grouch and the Brainstorm. Episode 29, Matt.
I can't count that high.
I know. That's why I was telling you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm Mike, and I'm here today with Jill.
Hey, guys.
And Matt.
Hey.
And we have Nancy.
Hi.
And Hodge.
Hey.
Welcome, guys. Glad you're here. So what are we going to talk about today, Matt?
10 step.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh,
And
pop
some
quiz.
promises, maybe.
Pop quiz. So we're going to
hate
talk
pop
about the
quizzes.
10th step and the 10th step promises. So I figured we would combine it all into one episode instead of making two. Give it a little bit more content to it. So if it runs hour 10, it just runs hour 10, and we'll be all right with that. Sounds good? Everybody
Yep.
good with that?
Sounds good.
So, step 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. What does that mean to you, Jill?
Well, basically what it says, that means, once you've gone through the steps and you get through 10, it means this is like something that I need to do on a daily basis. I need to look at like what has happened today. What do I need to, clear up with anybody, and just do that.
Okay.
And make sure that I do the right thing, that I make amends for anything that I do, and just to keep my side of the street clean.
I'm going to read a couple. I'm going to read a paragraph, okay?
Okay.
Just out of the 12 and 12. So, a continuous look at our assets and liabilities and a real desire to learn and grow by this means are necessities for us. We alcoholics have learned this the hard way. We experienced people, of course, in all times and places have practiced unsparing self-survey and criticism. For the wise have always known that no one can make much of his life until self-searching becomes a regular habit, until he is able to admit and accept what he finds, and until he patiently and persistently tries to correct what is wrong. Kind of sums up the continue to take personal inventory part of that
Absolutely.
particular step. And I would like to, a little side note here. A lot of times I hear in meetings, and not from anyone in particular or no meeting in particular, but we start talking about step 10, and it may be a topic, especially in October. It seems to come up a lot in October because it's the 10th month, and it just all the readings are about step 10. But we dive off into the when we retire at night. And when I retire at night, I'd sit there and I'd take my inventory. And I'm not a big book thumper, but that is not what the big book says. That's in step 11. And I didn't want to ruin step 11 by diving off into the when I retire at night and when I wake in the morning, which is actually part of the meditation process, right?
Right.
So the step 10 for me anyway is basically, as I run through this 12 and 12, it's going to talk about a spot check inventory, right? And that's important to me because I've been around a while, but obviously I hadn't at one point. I hadn't been around a long time. I had a few years of recovery, and I would sit there and try to remember every day what I had done wrong to folks. And as recovery's drug on through the years or came to be where it is now, I have developed a conscience. And of this conscience, whenever I do somebody wrong, I know it. I feel it. Or whenever I say something I shouldn't have said, I know it. I feel it. But it hadn't always been like that. Those early years, year 2, it just wasn't like that. I had to think back and should I have said that? Shouldn't I have said that? And knowing now if I have to question that, I probably shouldn't have said it or done it, But so making amends wasn't on the spot back in those earlier days. It was like thinking about it, and then I got to develop the courage to go back and say, I did this, I didn't do that, which sucks. I don't like doing that.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about because I still had that old mindset of forget it. I was in the right, and I wasn't quite there spiritually or emotionally to just be like, make amends on the spot and know that I did something wrong immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's for me anyway. It's about the spot check inventory. I don't even do it for them. If that sounds selfish, it just is what it is. But I don't do it for them. I do it for me because that shit will eat me up.
Yeah,
until
for sure.
I've done something about it. So I've got to keep my and that's part of something that I guess we do it every day. You do it every day.
I do it as needed. Some days I get away from just not doing it. But if I find that I did something or said something that was wrong, I'm immediately going to take care of that. But I've been doing it for so long, it's almost like
Routine.
It is routine, and my behaviors have gotten a lot better. My mouth has gotten better, and I don't say and do some of the stuff that I used to do unless it's Hodge.
Hodge disagrees with that.
I'm
statement.
waiting. I'm waiting for everything that you've said to me this morning. I'm waiting for the amends.
That is,
I think you started it.
Yeah, I'm
actually.
still waiting from
That's it.
1987, Hodge.
I saw something recently that somebody had sent me, and it said something about a significant amount of time is not an apology. And I think that's how I used to treat things a lot of. If I just ignored it and just let a long time go by, I'm like, okay, everybody's forgotten it. I'm sure it's okay, and smooth it over. Whereas now I do try to do something about it immediately because you get that icky feeling.
Yeah.
I never thought that would be me to get an icky feeling from doing something, but you do, consciously, that that's not something you should have done or said, and you try to fix it, or else that does start to build and just sits with you. And I don't know. I don't like feeling that way anymore.
Same. Yep.
well, that is defined in the 12 and 12 as what is called an emotional hangover.
Oh, yeah.
If we, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they're bad.
Yeah, it really is bad, And I've never was the type to purposely go out and do someone wrong. It's just never been part of my character. Just go, I don't. I guess I'm so selfish. I just don't think about people enough to go screw them over.
Yeah.
But
That takes too much effort.
when it comes to everyday activities, maybe going off on somebody, saying the wrong thing, not following up on a promise. That was a big one, especially with my children, because, I would be, when I was drinking, I would promise them everything in the world, and I just never delivered on any of them. And, luckily recovery came along, and once I found recovery, I've been able to, pretty much just do what I say what I do, whatever that, lingo is. So Hodge, when you hear the, continue to take personal inventory and when wrong, promptly admit it, what do you think about?
So when I was probably 3 years sober, I was driving a truck, and I remember I had to get it in this spot, and this guy jumped out of his truck and was trying to back me up, and it really it bothered me that this guy was trying to help me. Like, it almost was an insult to me. Like, I know how to back this truck up, dude. I don't need your help. And he came over to my window and he's like, man, you got to do this. And I just remember going, hey, buddy, I got this, back the hell up. And so I knew immediately that was not, and like you said, it sticks with you. It bothers you. It goes inside and it starts bawling and churning. And by the next day, I was like, golly, we'll never see this guy again to tell him I'm sorry. I was just, having a bad day. But thankfully, there's that guy again, and he's right there. And so I pull my truck over, get out, and I said, man, I just want to tell you, I'm really sorry about how I spoke to you yesterday. And I apologize for that. And he took a step back and he's like, man, you just sent chills. And showed me. He's like, I have chills from you just doing that right now. He said, never in my life has anybody gone out of their way. Like, I saw you coming towards me. You apologized to me. He said it. That blows me away. And, when you do it and you get the reaction, for me anyway, I'm like, wow, I need to continue to do this, And so I'm like Jill also, like, I try not to do it. I try not to be that arrogant, impulsive, reactionary guy that I used to be, because it wasn't about a response. It was about a reaction. I'm just going to use Jill as an example because she's so easy. Jill says something to me, and I just immediately go, well, screw you, or whatever the reaction is. Today, I'm able to pause and allow. Well, that's just Jill.
Yeah. And all her character defects.
That's just Jill. And I'm okay. I accept Jill for who she is today. But
Thanks, Hodge.
you're welcome. I like you. You're all right.
Same.
Yeah.
Right back at you.
Yeah. Don't touch me.
Oh my God. But the pause. Thank God for the pause.
Yep.
That's it. I mean, that's what I had to learn was how to pause. So I try not to do the wrong to begin with. That way I don't have to make the amends, because you're right. It takes me you have to build up the courage. And sometimes the wrong is huge. And then sometimes you look at the wrong and you go, well, do I make the amends? Because is the amends more harmful than, what you did in the beginning?
It is to my ego.
Yeah. Sometimes it's more harmful to the person you're apologizing to, because maybe they don't know about it. But there's factors today. So to avoid all that, to avoid all those factors, I try not to start with the wrong. I try to ask my sponsor, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Is that the right thing? And he's like, please don't do that. Please don't do that. And I'm like, okay, I won't do that then. Or the pause. I mean, the pause it's there for a reason. I allow myself time to, because emotions for me I'm not as emotionally driven today as I used to be, because when I first was in recovery, I mean, it was all it would take is just a little, and it just, I was a what is it, open-ended nerve or something like that. I forget what it is. I was a what?
Exposed nerve.
Yes, exposed nerve. That's exactly right. Anything you said bothered me. Did you blow vape smoke in my face on purpose? Did you just walk by me? It was anything and everything that affected me. And today it's not that way. And that just takes time. It literally just takes some time.
And practice.
Yeah.
And practice,
Absolutely.
yes. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Practice. That's where it's at.
Do it over and over and over and over and over and keep quit. You see, you gradually quit doing the stuff that caused that to begin with. It's kind of to me, very important step. I mean, this is one of those steps that the more meetings I go to, the more I practice this step. But if I stay away from meetings, this step kind of disappears. I quit thinking about my character defects. I quit thinking about my own personal inventory. I might, once I do that, then I start letting up on maybe making that spot check or making that amends on the spot. And if I'm going to meetings 7 days a week or 5 days a week or whatever, it tends to be more, for some reason, with me. I don't know how it is with everybody else, but the longer I stay away from a meeting, the more other people's character defects I get to see. I guess it would be more, you put it like that. But very important step. Nancy, when you hear this step, what do you think about?
Well, in the beginning, and I still have them taped to a journal that I sometimes write in and use to do step work in, but I actually printed out one of the daily 10-step inventory list. And I would literally go through that and check, because I could not recognize a lot of times the things that I would do until I went through that checklist of a 10-step inventory. In fact, I just pulled it up on my phone to look at it. And, a lot of the things that are on there, I just really wouldn't even recognize. A lot of it was my intolerance. I had a lot of intolerance for people and people's attitudes and just their personalities. And, oh, my God, stop. Hodge is taking pictures of me with his phone while I'm sitting here talking. But intolerance. I was very intolerant.
I'm sorry.
Intolerant of Hodge. But I find it a lot of times. We were talking about earlier on the other episode about Thanksgiving and family. A lot of that was directed towards my family. Sometimes I will see, for instance, my mom, which will call me on my cell phone, and I'll see her name pop up, and immediately, without even answering the phone yet, I start to get this built up defense already, like just waiting to pick up the phone. And I have to look at that and say, what am I doing? Like, why do I feel that way? And usually it has more to do with me and where I'm at spiritually. And so I have to be very aware of that. And so whenever I'm doing my prayers in the morning and at night, I often ask for help with my tolerance towards people, because usually it's me and my intolerance. And it's things that I recognize, myself, I think a lot of times, in other people, the things that bother me are things that I need to work on. So yeah, that's pretty much what I think of, is just kind of going through that and trying to spot check, like you said, about things that I do during the day that I don't really necessarily recognize. I don't think sometimes people recognize it, like you were saying. Like, is it more harmful to make amends to people about some things? But if I don't, and if I let those things ride, it just continues to be more of something that I become comfortable with, and all of a sudden it's an issue. It's a problem.
I think, too, we just came through Thanksgiving. So everybody had different, been around family, and I saw a bunch that I haven't seen in a while. And, today I've learned that, and my sponsor says this all the time, not my monkey, not my circus. I don't change people. I can't change people. They're going to do what they do. And so it was the chillest Thanksgiving ever, because I'm just like, not my problem. And I just kept going. And I used to get drawn into stuff and take on this, crap that other people had going. And then somehow I wind up in a position of owing an amends or trying to correct. And now I just go right by it, and I don't give it too much thought. And I go, I don't want to be involved in any of this that's going on. And, it keeps me out of the ditch a lot of times, and I enjoy the, like this step 10, 11, and 12 to me is like, and I don't even know if this is in any, I don't know, but to me, this is the sobriety maintenance, live your life steps, and this is like, okay, you've done the stuff to clean up the majority of your crap from the past. This is how you're going to continue to live the way you were living. And it does take practice. It takes a lot of practice. And part of that practice is going, I don't like amends. I don't like having those old feelings. So the pause or just walk right by a situation that I normally would have jumped in both barrels blazing. And I just let that stuff go. And it's because of this program, and because of, number one, I don't want to be involved in that kind of stuff. But number two, it's messing with my own stuff that's going on. And, Thanksgiving and family events are pretty awesome, especially these days. And used to be, it was like, oh, so-and-so is going to be there. This person's going to be there. Uncle so-and-so, and, I just don't sweat it. I just deal with it as it comes up and roll on. But yeah, it was a lot better this year. But excuse me, with this step, it's just a excuse me, it's just a way of, progressing through sobriety. I mean, it's just a simple checklist step that's so important every day to keep from going back and feeling the way that I did. And I thought like you said, Nancy, something bad goes on your credit, if after 7 years it comes off. That's kind of how I was on the amends process. It eventually will go away. The person will die, and then I don't have to deal with it. So don't have that today. I try to deal with it as soon as possible, but I guess that's my thoughts on it anyway.
I've been amazed at how wonderful family get-togethers can be, since I've been sober. And I actually think this past week I realized that it's not necessarily that things have just gotten better with my family and everybody acts better. Because I kept saying that Thursday. I was like, man, everybody was so well behaved. And I realized that it was always me. I was the one that was causing all the problems. I was the one that was stirring stuff up and stirring the pot and, getting everybody riled up and acting crazy. And so once I've removed that from the situation, yeah, everybody else seems to act pretty normal. So
Nice.
I do have some cousins that are off the chain. They have their own issues. I just talked to them at Thanksgiving, trying to eat dinner with my family, and I looked at the guy and I said, "You're 54. We're not 10 anymore. We don't do those things anymore."
You got to be reminded
and
every
he's
once
trying
in a
to
while.
drag that back in, like, remember this? And I'll go, bro, let it go. Just let it go. So
Maybe he's easing into an amends with you, man. You don't know it.
I doubt that very seriously. But I don't owe him one. That's the main thing. So, yes.
So it talks about in the big book, and I got to read a little bit because this is how I got sober. But step 10 is it suggests we continue personal inventory and set right any new mistakes as we go along, right? But it says we vigorously commence this way of living as we cleaned up the past, which means we may still be working on our amends, our 9th step amends, and we start living this way of life even before then, right? So I generally don't even move to this step until they've made one amends, right, my sponsees. And after that, I move on step 10, and we start discussing step 10 so they can start doing these things every day. But this one little sentence right here, our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. So it's detailed instructions. If we go through and we could pick out the details, it's covered up with a whole lot of stuff in there. But our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. And I think for me anyway, this was a perfect opportunity for me just to shut up whenever I used to didn't shut up. And it really helped my relationship with my son. I have a son. He's 26 now. I think he's fixing to have 7 years. He's either fixing to have 7 years. I think
7 because he's about 18 months ahead of me.
He's coming up on 7 years in January. He'll have 7 years of recovery. But, I got sober when he was 12 going on 13. So it was those pivotal age in a kid's life where they want to do things that, young teenage boys do and act out and all these things. And I went through his teenage years with him pretty much hating my guts. Had I entertained that, though, had I not I'm trying to be effective and understanding, right? And I didn't think about it that hard. But if I'm not doing that, I'm only going to screw up this situation. And so every time, and there was times where I had to just leave. Just had to walk away. I'm going to say something. I can't not say something, And what does Mr. Joe say? We've never got in trouble for something we didn't say.
Amen.
But understanding and being more effective as a father, and I really learned a lot from this step, and just learning how to just not say nothing whenever I used to have to. I just had to. And I'm 50, almost 51 years old, and I still have to say something on a regular basis. So I have to learn that if I practice this every day, But it also continues to tell us to watch out for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. And when these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them, and then we talk to somebody about them. So I have sponsored many, many folks over the years, and I have not had one call me yet and go, "Hey, man, I just had some selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear, and I need to talk to you about this, brother."
Seriously?
No, I haven't had one. No.
That's wild.
No. Maybe they're putting it in another language that I don't understand.
Mine always start with this. Are you able to receive a collect call from the county jail? That's most of my sponsors.
Oh, mine always start with, "You're not going to believe this, man."
I feel like I call my sponsor doing that. Well, not a lot, now, but I feel like I'm pretty open, and I will always go to her if it's something that I can't, get my mind around and figure out myself.
I think that's growing in sobriety, but also having a sponsor that does their program and they're growing too. That's what I like about today. I mean, if something's going on, we're not always today, knock down, drag out deal, but because we worked together so long, it takes 30 seconds, and I go, hey, this is going on, and he knows the situation and familiar, and we can knock it out pretty quick. So
yeah, and I think that it's more like I know what happened. I just need to vent to someone, and then once we do that, I'm like, okay, I totally see, what happened here, and I just need to get that off my chest.
And I'll always ask them too, and I do business stuff that I've dealt with and things like that, and I'll go, am I thinking right on this? And then I'll explain the situation. They'll go, well, you could have done this, but you did it. This is, and I really value that. I mean, it's an honest, polished, opinion, but he's always been right. So he's batting 1,000.
I get blown away. I get blown away every time I think I know the answer, and I think I've got it. And then I go, hey, by the way, this is what I'm thinking about doing. He's like, oh, here's what I'm thinking. And I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't even think about that, and it's just shocking to me. It's just, that goes to show what having a good sponsor and, being able to trust someone and share what's going on with you, because you never know. I think I'm the smartest person in the world. I do. I constantly think that. And I think I have all the answers. And then I'm proven wrong almost on a daily basis that is not the truth. I'm not the smartest person in the world. I don't have all the answers, especially when it comes to me. What is the saying? You can't see the forest for the trees. Yeah.
I'm just so glad that we have this recorded somewhere that you just said. I'm going to
Forever
replay
and
this.
ever.
Yes,
You'll always have it
in the future.
Mine
Make it a
even,
ringtone.
I'm just going to be quiet.
Mine even as the years have gone on, I'll get in like we go fishing a lot. We'll get in the truck. We're taking off, and I'll just start in on something that's been going on, and he'll just drive down the road. And he's not saying nothing, and I'm like, well. And he'll look over at me and go, are you asking me a question right now? Or are you just ranting or what? Like, he wants to be out of it so bad, And I'm like, well, I guess I'm asking you. And he goes, well, if you would have asked me before you did that, here's what I would have told you. But now you've done it.
That's
so
right.
Here's what we're going to do. And I go, oh, okay. Yeah, maybe I should have asked first.
That's the case. I never ask. Excuse me, that's not true. I very seldomly ask before I do the thing. I do the thing, and then I go, man, this is what I did. And he's like, oh, my God.
I do that quite a bit myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, so this is what happened.
That's
And
right.
she goes, oh, Chili.
What had
Why
happened
didn't you
was,
call me before?
She always goes, oh, Chili.
though, I've learned too, 5 years into this deal, where it works good with us is his is never an emotional opinion. It's never emotional.
Well,
it's never in the heat of the moment.
I don't think your sponsor has emotions.
He does. You haven't fished with him. That's a whole other side of that man that comes out.
Okay, I got you on that one.
I may actually, and I'm gonna say his nickname on here. But we fished with the third member of this party who's been sober quite a while, and he is one of the funniest people on the planet. He didn't go through AA or any of that stuff. He just stopped drinking, but he's off the chain. And I'd like to get him in here one day and just turn him loose because he's a mess. But yeah, I mean, that's what's worked great for me though. Is I always operated off emotion. Well, this person pissed me off, so I'm going scorched earth, or they hurt me, or they did whatever it was that I looked at. And now I've learned through listening to him, he's never excited about the thing. I'm fired up and I'm like, this is what's going on. And he's like, well, let's think about that for a few days. And I'm like, no, I want to go right now. I think we'll wait a few days and let's make a list of and I'm like, I don't want to do all that. I just want to, and I finally realized, yeah, I'm screwing that up, barreling in. So it's gotten better, and some of that's rubbed off, not all, but, some of it. He still says I'm his temporary sponsee 5.5 years later, but I
Doesn't quite claim
I
he's
live my life temporary, so but
I
The logical decision is always better than the emotional. Mm-hmm. Every time. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that I also appreciate that when I see my sponsor do those things in her life, And Jill and I shared a sponsor for a while, and she's really great about that. And I think Jill can testify to that.
Yep.
We witnessed her, doing this 10th step a lot in her own life. And my sponsor that I have now, it's not just, we have a sponsor relationship, but she often shares with me things that's going on with her and, how she's dealing with those things. And I think that's important, that it's not just somebody that I go to and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, or this is what I did, or whatever it may be, that she also gives me examples by living and working this program herself.
Sure. And I like, too, the way I was sponsored is how I approach people that ask me to do that. And I do it exactly the same. And I ask them to do exactly the same things that I did and the way that I did them, because it's the only way I know to do it. And there are other ways to do it, I can assure you. But if they ask me, hey, this is what we did, and that's what worked for me, and that's all I know. And, and it's great. I do see Bobby does his it's by example, so, and that's the best way to do with us alcoholics. We've got to see it work.
I don't know about anybody else, but I remember when I first got into the rooms of AA, I was new, right? But I would hear, especially old timers, and they would say, if you want to know how well somebody works a program, follow them home and watch how they act there, And I just remember thinking that's the creepiest shit ever.
Out on that.
I'm not going to ever follow any of y'all home.
Climb a tree in their yard.
but now I see what they're talking. Watch how they live their life, especially some of these guys have been around 30 years. And I ask them, how you been around 30 years? That's exactly how they actually live this program. They actually do the things that we talk about. And, and I'm not perfect at it. I'm getting better, but I'm definitely not perfect at it by no means. I still have to do this whole spot check inventory and all that other stuff.
And talk about bringing the emotions into it and stuff. Like I would take on this crap of other people. They want to pick or they want to kind of start things, and talking about examples. My sponsor and I were working on something one day, and we had another guy with us real early in the program, had been in and out. And and he's not in it now, but he launched into this sermon of all this stuff with Alcoholics Anonymous that wasn't good, and all these flaws and all this stuff. And man, it's just a crazy rant. And I'm in there with my sponsor, and I'm like, he's gonna tighten this up. He's fixing it. I just keep working, right? He don't say nothing. And the guy goes on for 15 minutes. I'm pissed off, and I'm like, he's gonna handle this. It's not my place to jump in. He says nothing. Finally, this guy leaves about an hour later, and my sponsor walked over to me and he goes, here's a lesson. When an idiot's talking, just let him. And he just went back to work. And I went, okay. That was one of the biggest things I learned is like, I don't have to, they can say whatever they want. This is America. And, but I went, I got you. And he never batted an eyelash, and we just went on. But, so life 101.
Well, just like with all the other steps in the book, step 10 actually does come along with some promises as well. And a lot of times they're they're on the page after the 9th step promises. So we kind of breeze through them just as part of our, just reading, especially we don't really stop and think about these promises. And somebody brought them to my attention years ago. They're not posted on none of the clubhouses I've been in America have them on the walls or any of that. But they definitely, I remember the very first time, and I didn't even know what they were called, but I remember me and my sponsor, and he's been passed now for years. But the first time we read these, we were sitting at a table in the front room of the Koala Club, and we got to this point, and even though I didn't know what we were reading, a lot of these things had came true for me. And I'm going to run through them real quick. So, and we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. For by this time, sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as if from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude towards liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. Miracle. Stay till the miracle happens, Matt. Remember that.
I'm working on it.
That is the miracle of it. We're not fighting it, nor are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we had been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is how we react so long as we keep in spherical condition, in fit spiritual condition. And that's a mouthful, right? But when I think about it, at this point in my recovery, okay, that's exactly how I felt. I didn't go into a supermarket and avoid the liquor aisle. I didn't at the time. I was in a relationship, and I didn't think about it if the person in that relationship had a glass of wine with dinner. I didn't. It just was not there. And these are things that really happen for me. Like I don't have anything against drinking. I have nothing against the institution of drinking. It, for a lot of people out there, it does exactly what the commercials say it's going to do. Right? For me, I just don't fit that. They're not going to make a commercial of the shit alcohol makes me do. Right? I mean, if they do, it's going to be for a rehab facility. But these promises, if we've ever taken time, have you ever taken time to read these promises, Jill?
I have.
Okay. What you got on them?
Really nothing.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. Well,
so she's pausing.
I mean, I really like those promises, and I feel like those came pretty early in my recovery, because I remember, being in the halfway house and sitting on the stoop in the backyard and thinking, I can't do this. How am I going to do this if I'm going to be thinking about it all the time? And I really was like, God, I need you to help me with this. And because I still had like so much fear at that point. And I mean, I don't know exactly when it happened, but like I have absolutely no desire to use or drink. And I'm, like it says, I'm not cocky about it. It's repulsive. I mean, I felt like it went on for so long that just, it repulses me. And I never want to be that person again. Because I was a joke.
Yeah.
And it's just, I look back and I'm embarrassed. And I like remembering what I do and all those kind of, good things. But yeah, that all happened. I mean, like hands down. And it is what's great about it. It stayed that way. Because I feel like sometimes, especially when it comes to the 9-step promises, sometimes if I get in a weird spiritual condition, I'm like, oh, well, that one's not happening. This promise isn't happening. And I get pissed. But I don't know. This one has never wavered. And thank God, because I can't even imagine going and using again. Or that even being an option, or me thinking, you know what, that sounds like a great idea. Because gosh, I can't. So these have maintained, and this has stayed, throughout my recovery. And I'm grateful for that, because I never want to convince myself that I can go back out.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I prayed for consistently when I first got sober, was for God to remove that obsession for alcohol and drugs, because I didn't think that I would ever get to a point where I didn't think about it or I didn't obsess about it. But it has. It's one of those things. It's one of the things that I recognized, like you said, Jill, early on, one of the first things that happened, that it wasn't something I thought about all the time. It was removed from me. But I'm not going to say that I've never thought about it. Just a few months ago, I don't know, I probably just wasn't in a great place, like you were saying, like personally and spiritually fit. But I was in a situation where I was around a lot of people drinking, and just for a brief moment, I walked into the kitchen and I was in there by myself, and there was a bottle of wine. And just for a split second, I thought, you know what? Nobody's in here. I could pick that up and just drink half of it. And within a second, I played the tape out of what my life would look like in 30 minutes, 30 days. Mm-hmm. And I really didn't get past the 30 days because I didn't know what that would, I didn't even know. It would just be a disaster. And in just that brief second, that's all it took for me to say, nope, not worth it.
Yeah.
Like it was not even a question. It was just not, I don't want that.
Yeah.
not what I want.
Well, it's like we learn from our own mistakes, and I think your last one, everything happened so quickly.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what, and I think it says that in the big book about how it's just progressively gets worse, you know. And I mean, for someone who has relapse as part of my story, you know, the first time it was like a weekend and it was like, okay, things got crazy and things got hectic, but, you know, it was okay. I didn't do so much damage to where my life was just over. But then the second time when I relapsed, it was just like immediately, it was just so bad. And just happened so quickly. It was so scary. And that's why when I thought about it for that split second in the kitchen, I was just like, there's no way I want to do that.
Well, and you also had an injury from that time. I mean,
I'm laughing about it now,
right.
but
Rehab
it's really,
recovered.
Yeah, it's really not funny, but
yeah,
you know, and not even something that I knew how the injury had happened.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was about to go into that story, but we're just going
to leave it.
I was
right
waiting to
there.
hear more about the story, to be honest with you.
Anytime injury's involved.
What
it's-
injury are we referring to? No.
We've all been there. We've all woken up with, you know,
Yeah.
covered in blood.
Oh, yeah.
I woke up with a sombrero one time, just laying right next to me.
I woke up with shirtless behind a dumpster, which was really unusual.
I was about to say you woke up
I was like,
shirtless.
this
That's
isn't
not-
where I normally sleep. This smells terrible.
I'll just say this dumpster's had a part in my story as well. There's some dumpsters.
Everybody's got a good dumpster
They know who
story.
they are.
But right
You know,
now,
right.
there's somebody listening that's going to go, I wish I had a dumpster. I didn't even have a dumpster.
The good news is since I came into this program and y'all have told me that it's worse when you go back out, I believe y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just really, because I've seen it and I just believe that is true.
That scares the hell out of me. Like, how
I
could it be worse?
Don't want to, because it could be, because the scary part is, what if it's exactly the same? Because, you know, a week before I decided to get sober, it was bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember what it smelled like and what I looked like. And, you know, there's little things that, you know, when you're, where was I? I don't remember, but someone walked in, they had been drinking, and I was like, it immediately kind of brought me back to a place where I was like, ugh, that was a bad night. Or, you know, there's just smells and things. You drive by places and you're like, oh yeah, that's that dumpster. You know, that dumpster is still
Yeah, driving down King's Highway, you know, like Flanagan's in the hole.
That's
I'm like,
right.
oh, God bless.
That's where Jill would yell at you from the back of the bar if you walked in the front. She'd be, hi. You're like, we should
Join us out by the dumpster for cocktails.
Yeah.
That's where the party's at.
Yeah, I got banned from a bar over there. But yeah, whatever.
I'm not surprised by that at all. I'm shocked they let you in ever to any of the bars in Shreveport Bossier. I'm kind of like, why did they didn't learn their lesson?
I've definitely been asked to leave a couple of places. I've been carried out of a couple of places here in town. Yeah, no.
Well, that movie, the guy gets chunked out. He says, I've been kicked out of a lot nicer places than this. You know?
Oh, what movie was that?
I saw it the other day. You know, it's funny, like y'all talking about where you're at. And I just don't fight that today. I just have a healthy respect for it. I know what it does to me, but I have no problem with people around me doing their thing. And like Mike said, I'm not anti-drinking or alcohol. There's a few people out that probably wouldn't hurt them to have a drink
Right.
for once in a while. You know,
Got a lot more personality.
Yeah, a little too much going on there. But for me, I know that I can't. And, you know, and I've just gotten to that place where it's very healthy respect. I went in last Christmas. My brother, we get tickets to fights at Samstown, UFC or MMA fights all the time, and he's always getting a table and we go watch them and stuff. So kind of as a thank you, I went to Thrifty and got him some of that Conor McGregor whiskey, you know, his whiskey he makes, and I hadn't been in a Thrifty Liquor in like 4 years, and I walked in and I was like, golly, this stuff's went up, like this is high dollar stuff, but I got my stuff and went on, didn't think a thing about it, and but it was the most normal thing, and I'm so grateful today, and I can remember that afternoon of the people coming in my living room and winding up and going to detox, and that last 6 months of that was just horrible. So I don't ever forget that, know. But I do think too. I have people ask me early in sobriety, and they go, well, am I going to stop having the thought about the bottle of wine on the counter, like you said, And I go, no, welcome to the life of a recovering alcoholic. You're always going to have little stuff come up. It's just we learn the ways to deal with that, So,
well, I will say this, man. I have stayed in a hotel room by myself on a business trip that had a mini bar, and it just didn't even think about it. I mean, I just really and truly did not think about it until after the fact, when you get down there and you've drank a $15 bottle of Avion water, and you realize, God dang, I wonder how much that liquor would have cost, and that's that neutrality, So if I'm that last week, that you two guys talked about, really that last, whatever it took to get us here, that feeling that we had, if someone would have came in and told me that one day I would feel like it says in the big book, I would have thought this lying.
Oh, absolutely.
And then on top of that, I'm going to get this way by praying.
Yeah.
I'm going to get this way by looking inward.
Right. I'll be like, I don't pray, please.
I damn sure don't need to look inward. I mean,
That's a scary thought.
I mean, but if someone would have told me that, but I remember that day with Dale all those years ago, sitting in that front room of the Koala Club, and when we read through this together, I thought, I feel exactly like that. Like it's just the weirdest. It's almost freeing. Mm-hmm. It's almost as freeing as a fifth step, just to say, someone wrote it down, how I felt, But then on the flip side, we go to the next paragraph right after these promises, and it says that it's easy to let up on a spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. And it is. Yeah, we've talked about laurels.
Yes, we have.
Someone, I think it was Bree, sent me the definition of laurels, or Jane sent me the definition of laurels. But we're headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. So now in the next paragraph, it's calling it a foe. We're neutral in the paragraph before, but now it's a foe. We're not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve, contingent on our spiritual maintenance and conditions. So that paragraph just reminds me that how I feel today, I'm not going to feel forever. Mm-hmm. That just because today I'm reading with Dale and I feel neutral and I don't feel like, I'm not in danger of going getting drunk. I supposedly got that feeling because I worked the first 9 steps, and then I'm doing some stuff every day, but that doesn't mean I'm going to feel like that forever. I'm going to get better. Life's going to start happening. People are going to start coming back into my life. The kids are going to start talking about me. I'm going to get promoted at work. I may get a better house. I may get a better car. The dog may come back. All these good stuff start happening, and all of a sudden I'm like, all right, whew, glad that chapter in my life was over. And it's reminded me, anyway, it just reminds me that it's not ever over. I got to do stuff every single day of my life in order to keep that feeling of neutrality, because there's something in me that says we know how to feel better when we don't. And that's just to run back to whatever it was. What was we talking about whenever we brought up laurels? Because it was
complacency.
I thought it was an exotic dancer, but that was me. I didn't know what it meant.
That's a different Laurel.
That was her name, wasn't
Laurel.
it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but she didn't have an S at the end.
I was thinking about Mike with that mini bar and $15 water. I never stayed in hotels like that in my day. They didn't have that.
Didn't have mini bar.
They didn't even have a refrigerator.
Some of them didn't have windows, so they're like, your 15 minutes is up. Housekeeping, so
That's where you met Laurel.
Yeah, so there's a whole other deal back there.
And now
guys.
you have to go in after dues and clean all that up now.
Yeah,
See how life just turns one big circle, man.
very humbling life is, you know. So, but you know, I handled that my own way. I told the lady, I said, I'm going in heavy here. I had Lysol, the big cans in every pocket, you know, and I was armored up. So you just do the best you can. But yeah. So some days I do go in those instances. I go, is this real life right now? Like, I didn't picture this 5 years ago. You know, I wouldn't have believed you if you told me this was happening. But
Any of it.
yeah. But you know, you're talking about losing the obsession and all that type of stuff. I went to detox. It was at night. They brought me to this hospital type thing. It was kind of like a Brentwood thing to detox, and got there at night. The next morning I get up and they had AA meetings in the detox, and they had these plastic benches. And so I didn't have anything else to do. You're just wandering around on the floor you're on. So I go down there, and the old man that had done it was the second one that I went to. There was a man that did meetings in there, and at the time he had 44 years of sobriety off alcohol and pills. And, he was sitting in the back waiting on people to come in for the meeting, and I'm laying across the bench. I've told this before, but I'm like, this isn't going to work. Like they don't, like, I thought, do I get a brain transplant? Like, are they going to do surgery, cut that part? They don't know me, you know? And I'm laying on the bench. He's just sitting in the back. And I was like, hey, how do they get this out of your head? Like, what are we doing here? What's the process? And he goes, oh, they're never going to get it out of your head. You know, he goes, it's been 44 years since I had a drink. And he goes, I said, but you still think about it. That's the problem, you know? And he goes, I do sometimes. He goes, I'll sit at home sometimes and a whiskey commercial come on. I'll go, man, I never got to try that one. He said, but other than that, I don't think about it that much. And I said, yeah, but you must not have been like me, because if I even think that, it's on, you know? And I just remember sitting there going, this is never going to work, but it did. So, you know, as long as I keep working on it. But
moment of silence.
followed by the Serenity Prayer.
You got to keep working on it. I mean, it goes in waves. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, you know, I'm just happy that every time I've struggled, I've been really strong with my program. And I haven't struggled that much. I'll be honest with you. You know, but this last time that things weren't kind of going the way that I thought they should. Life wasn't, doing the things that, I wasn't happy or neutral, as you say. I knew what to do. It was a choice. You can go back to the way it was, which instantly I remember what it was like, and I don't want to go back there anymore. Or you can go to a meeting. And so I did. Did that cure it? Was I like happy again? No. But the second one, and then the third one, and then the fifth one, and then the 10th one, and then the 15th one, mm-hmm. I was like, oh yeah, this is where I need to be. This is my people. This is what I'm doing. This is my purpose, and then you just, so it that's what I love about it. Is it because it continuously shows me that it works. Even when I'm not going to meetings every day, even when I forget to call my sponsor, when I'm, not doing the things that I was taught early in sobriety to do, and I start feeling, what is it, pitiful or
little less than serene.
A little less than serene. I know what to do. I know what to do other than picking up a drink or a drug. I can call Jill and say, hey, Jill, this is how I'm feeling. Oh yeah, I was feeling that way too, and blah, blah, blah. Or
there is a solution.
There is a solution, it's call your sponsor, pray about it, go to a meeting, call other alcoholics, be around the people that are sober today that, that's the solution. If you've done a wrong, admit to it, and, I remember working at CADA, and I was working in the adolescent thing, and every day the promises were on the wall and the 12 steps were on the wall. And I remember reading them continuously over and over again. And, I was like, there's no way. There's no way these things are going to happen. You know, that can't, economic insecurities will leave. That's not going to happen. And I'm always going to be worried about money. You know, I'm not worried about it right now because I don't have any. But, you know, that's what I was thinking back then. How can you worry about something you don't have? But you know, those things do come true. I don't think it was like, I remember it being Thursday on October the 2nd where I was like, oh, yes, finally, economic insecurity has left me. But, you know, it's a gradual. It's gradual. It's not a pill today.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a pill. And I hope that I never get it. You know, I just hope I never get it, because if I ever get it, I'm like the greyhound, you know, on the track that chases the rabbit around. If I ever catch the rabbit, that greyhound will never run again. You know, I hope I never get it, because I feel like I might stop chasing the rabbit.
I like that.
You know, but I'm chasing the hell out of the rabbit today.
Plus, it gives me something to do every day.
It does. It does. You know, it really
Run in
does.
circles? Just kidding.
That's it.
Chase rabbits.
Chase rabbit.
Yeah, little guys in trunks, you know.
And you know, another thing too is you're talking about CATA, but the job I'm at now is at a treatment center, and we were laughing about, but being around that early on, wander in off the street type stuff, and I go, oh my God, you know, and it was me exactly standing there. I'm looking at the guy going, yep, that was me, and then they're like, what, you know, they're asking questions, and I'm like, oh man, that's a great Walmart bag. I used to have one like that I had my T-shirt in that I owned, you know, and, but God, it'll just quickly take you to that spot. And, they're always hungry. They've never had a bath. It's kind of a common theme, you know, but,
They got 30 flashlights.
30 flashlights, no batteries in any of them. You know, and now here's the new one. They didn't have this when I was coming in. Everybody has Cash App cards, lots of Cash App cards.
I still don't even know what that is.
Yeah, that's the new. I guess that's how you.
It's money transfer system.
Yeah, money transfer cards, and we
It's
have
a
to
card?
list them all.
Get the card.
You can
So
get the card.
on their thing. So I have.
card.
It's like I'm in banking or something. But I'm
I
like,
get it.
You got 90 Cash App cards, and none of them have any money on them. None. So, but yeah.
Well, if they did, they wouldn't need 90.
Exactly.
Stop with the one that had money on it until it's all gone.
Hey, I'll tell you what, it's but it's good to be around that, and you know, it's kind of a mutual thing. I hope it can encourage them a little bit, but it dang sure encourages me. So,
Well, and it's good to be around you guys today. So
even Jill.
What?
even Jill.
Don't you get on that bandwagon.
You know, we might
half
get
of
some
us up.
emails and voicemails because of this one. But Nancy, Hodge, appreciate you both coming by.
Thank y'all.
Thank
for
you.
Absolutely.
Spending a little time discussing step 10 and the previous episode telling your story. Jill and Matt, as always, thank you for being here
Thank you for
in your
having
own
us.
home. Jill. Look, a couple things. We got to talk about the countries that we have out there that listen to this. We have some listeners in Ireland, the United Kingdom, Taiwan, and we have Bulgaria, Australia, Denmark, Saudi Arabia, Canada, and the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. So those are all the countries that we have listeners in, and we don't know but one, and that's Ann. But we do appreciate everyone who listens, even if it's you're on vacation. And if you're on vacation in Bulgaria, I don't know you. I don't know who you are, but we do appreciate it. We
Probably
have
Hodge's dad.
That's right.
yeah, there you go. 2,708 listens total is what we're up to, and we have 77 followers. So as always, we send our shout outs. We've got Miss Faye, we got Michelle, we got Rhonda, we got Kim, we got Sheila,
Yeah.
we got Jane. I think we even have Todd now.
Here's one I'm going to get in trouble with. Danielle. She told me to make sure Miss Faye's her sponsor. Miss Faye makes her listen to every episode. And she's like, I don't have nothing else to do, so I have to listen to y'all all the time. I'm like, I'm sorry about that. But, you know,
We got Danielle. So
Yeah,
thank you,
Danielle.
Danielle, for
Yeah,
listening.
yeah.
Thanks for everyone that spends time and just listens to what we talk about here on this. So as always, we do thank you, and email. The email address is bngbosier, Bossier, at gmail.com. That's bngbosier at gmail.com. And we actually have a new telephone number. We have a new telephone number. I have a new work phone. But since no one was leaving voicemails on the other one, and I don't know my new one yet, it's got an 817 area code from the Dallas area. So I'll have that new phone number on the next one. Anybody who normally texts me on my regular personal phone, continue to do so, especially if you got anything. And you can leave a voicemail on my regular cell phone as well, and we can play that on the air. That's no big deal. I just kind of wanted a separate line for the show. So wrap up another episode of The Grouch and the Brainstorm. We have been in Rule 62 Studios here in Bossier City, Louisiana. This has been The Grouch and the Brainstorm.